companies. Top Septic. If you need a new drain field, or maybe you're having a problem with your existing drain field, or maybe the septic tank just needs to be pumped, they are the folks that can handle it for you. They know what they're doing. They're an American-owned company run by a veteran who wants to give you the type of service that you're expecting. Top Septic. Call them today, 865-599-1690. 865-599-1690. Permachink Systems, protecting wood for a long, long time. Not only protecting it, but beautifying it, helping it when it's decayed, working with log home people, and also working with homeowners. They have a store on Prosser Road in Knoxville at 1605 Prosser Road. It's 800-548-3554, or a store in Sevierville, 1357 Dolly Parton Parkway, 865-774-3307. 865-774-3307. Let me tell you what you're going to learn when you get there. Things I didn't know about. How about the Woodsman line of smooth log caulk? The other day I was looking for something that matched wood trim. I only had two choices. Not with Permachink. Pine, honey, tan, cedar tone, brown, and gray. E-wood, epoxy wood putty. Putty that really works. Putty that will harden and become just like the wood itself, maybe even better. If you're missing sections of your windowsills or frames or furniture or any wood structure, this is the product for you. But maybe it's something smaller. How about epoxy wood paste? Contact PCS today. Call Permachink Systems today. Toll free 800-548-3554, or at the Sevierville store, 865-774-3307, and find out how to make wood better. Hey, y'all, this is Rick Allen, host of Rick's House Home Improvement Radio Show. Let me tell you about our newest sponsor, GFL. That's Green for Life. If you're looking for that dumpster or that roll-off or that piece of equipment that's going to get that debris away from your job site, or just keep things handy around and clean around that big business that you have, GFL wants to be your partner. They want to service you, and they want to take care of you. Locations in Knoxville and Morristown, and you can call them today at 865-475-7777, 865-475-7777. Dean Kings joins me today to tell us about a special offer for Rick's House listeners. Dean.
Yeah, Rick, if they mention that they've heard about us on your show or any kind of thing affiliated with your show, we're going to waive our delivery fee for any roll-off box.
And how much is that,
brother? That's a $75 savings.
$75 savings right off the bat. So if you're looking for that dumpster or that open-top roll-off, GFL is the company that's got them for you. They want to take care of you, they want to service you, and they do a great job for us. GFL, call them today, 865-475-7777, and mention that you heard them on Rick's House.
Whether you're living in a brand new home or swimming in a money pit, we've got your home improvement answers. It's Rick's House, the home improvement show. Got a question? Rick's got the answers for all your home improvement questions. It's Rick's House. Home improvement advice done right.
Tune in to Rick's House every Saturday from 7:30 a.m. to 9:30. Don't let...
Hey, y'all, this is Rick Allen, host of Rick's House Home Improvement Radio Show on the road. Let me tell you about my friends at Knox Trail Salvage and Old City Kitchens. Joel Popper and the team there have been friends of this program for a long time, and they want to be your friend. Friends, they have got the best cabinets, the best products. You say, Rick, is it seconds? No, everything's first quality. They do have some seconds if you want to get a deal, but not on kitchens and not on about everything they have in the store. So trust me, they're part of our team. They want to be part of your team. And in this environment where building materials are going through the roof, they're going to have the best prices on the best products in Knoxville or anywhere in the surrounding area. Call them today. See them online. KnoxtrailSalvage.com, OldCityKitchens.com. A Rick's House favorite.
Hey, y'all, this is Kix Brooks, and you are listening to Rick's House, everything you need to know about home improvement. And here comes Rick.
Oh, well, it's Rick's House. If you got a question, he'll help you figure it out. 'Cause it's Rick's House.
see you on the program this morning. Thank you so much for being a part of what we do each and every Saturday. Thanks for being with us. We're glad to have you with us this morning. And we got, and man, it's been a crazy week of weather and stuff. But it's been kind of cool because it's literally been kind of cool. Good morning to y'all. Appreciate y'all joining us on the program, and we love to have you here. I think y'all may notice we've had a few changes. The very lovely and talented Mrs. Amy has instituted some changes into the stuff that we do, and I like it. Life on the Road with Rick's House is what we're going with now. And of course, it'll always be Rick's House Radio Show. That's always there too. So you may see some changes there. She's got our TikTok up and running. Got our YouTube, both pages there, or our page there up and running. We just went to one page, and she's got that happening, and Instagram's up and running, and I am up and running on my end. I got a bunch of stuff worked out, and next the new thing is we got to figure out how to do in our Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it's up and running. So we want to figure that out. And so more live broadcasting, but I want to thank y'all because she's got me making videos and showing things that I've been promising y'all for a long time, and I just wasn't able to get it done, but she can get it done. So I want to thank her for her hard work, because I don't know how to do it, but she's got a natural, there we go. She's got a natural talent in that. And so I hope you're enjoying the videos, and man, we got tons more of that stuff, and we're going to be doing a lot of that stuff. I got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Some interesting stuff, this time of year stuff, as well as stuff that's happening. Tomorrow's moving day for Rick's House. We're going to share with you a little adventure that my lovely bride had. And it put some thinking in our thinking space about who, what, when, where, and how we need to think about that. Hey, Vonda, good morning. How you doing? Good to see Miss Vonda in there. I bet there's a biscuit living at your house this morning. Miss Amy's over there cooking. I don't know what she's making. And boy, I'm going to tell you, we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about those Mexican cheeseburgers we made last night or yesterday afternoon. There's a video on the Book Face and the YouTube and the Tube View, and I called everything but what it's supposed to be called. But anyway, there's some videos on there, and that was absolutely the mixture of the mayonnaise with the picante sauce is to die for. I knew that was right, girl. And I bet there's some gravy to go with it. She said, "You better believe it." Absolutely. It's good to see you this morning. That's an Eagle sister right there. Great basketball player. I hear she's a better fisherman. That's what, Vonda, every time I take Amy fishing, she outfishes me. She'll say, "What are we going to use?" She said, "I don't want that. Just put this right here on there." I'm like, "No, you want to use this?" She said, "No, I don't want to use that. I want to use this over here." I'm like, "Okay." So she'll pick out a spinnerbait or something like that. And next thing you know, I'm over there dogging it. Can't catch nothing. And she's pulling them in one after another. Just a giggling away. But yeah, the picante sauce and the mayonnaise together, I would have never done that. That's something that I would not have done. But I'm going to tell you something. She said, Vonda said, "Y'all got the fish whispering talk." I know that's right, girl. I'll tell you, it's one of the things I want to do too, by the way. I was seeing some buddies of mine up in Oregon, Nate and Going brothers, Dad, and they get after him steelhead up there. And boy, I'd like to get up there and catch some of those. Tim and Cammy Mix up there too said, "Hey, y'all get close, come on out." So who knows? We might end up there. But we're gonna share with you a little experience my bride had. Was it been 2 weeks ago now, honey? 2 weeks ago tonight. And it is, yeah, this will be one that, yeah, she thought she was in a movie. She said, this will be one we're going to put in the book. And also kind of put in perspective for us, you know, for those of us that are of a certain age. Yeah, and I know the new 60s, the new 20. Well, okay, you can go with that if you want to. It might be in your brain, but it sure ain't in my body. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I had to put my shoes on this morning because I bumped my toe on the pulling up to my desk and thought I was gonna die. You know, it's like, really? All them years playing ball and all that stuff is going on. Has taken a toll on me. But that's all right. Don't mean you got to quit. Just means you got to adjust. There's what my brain says I can do. And then there's what my body says, no, here's what you're going to do. We're not doing that today. There we go. Had to put my spotlight back on so you can see how ugly I am. But yeah, so, you know, it's not a matter of that you can't, you know, and as we watch and I look at other YouTube folks and, you know, as we talk about the show and all that kind of stuff, you know, I'm looking at, you know, there are people doing this lifestyle up in their 80s, 90s. I mean, it's crazy. And, you know, once you're a vagabond, I think you're a nomad. I mean, it's in our blood. I mean, that we are nomads for life. Good morning, Steampunk Johnny. How's that doing this morning, my brother? Good to see you. Bakersfield, California. So I think once you get that nomad spirit, you get that nomad spirit. But one of the things that happens is you kind of have to change, and that's what we're learning. Hence, we are in Alpine, Texas. And Alpine, Texas is a beautiful place if you like the desert, which we like the desert because it feels better in the desert, don't hurt. Now, it's high desert, Amy reminded me, which is true. And the high desert's a different beast because, you know, it rained yesterday, and that's the first real rain. I mean, they'll say it's going to rain. It'll spit about 3 or 4 times, just enough to make you mad. Won't even calm any dust down or anything. But now we had rain yesterday. Freedom is being mobile, my brother, Steampunk Johnny says. But yesterday we actually got a day of rain. It rained about an hour and then it stopped for a little bit and it rained a couple hours and it stopped. And I got up and I looked outside and it'd been raining all night, which you hadn't done since we've been here since December. And I looked outside and, you know, it's desert with some sage grass and there's a big farm behind us, a ranch, actually. We call it a big farm, but it's a ranch, a horse ranch. I looked out there and the ground had water standing on it about 2 inches thick. And I thought, oh, Lord, that's a mess. Well, I went and made pancakes or something. I don't remember what I made for breakfast. Anyway, we was having our coffee and talking this, that, and other. And I thought, well, I'm going to open the blinds up so I can see outside. Opened up and the sun was shining and it was all gone. This ground is so dry that it just sucks that water up. Now, what's neat is when you go through town, you have these bridges over these creeks, and God bless them. I love them. I got buddies all over this out here, all over the Midwest and the West. That is not a creek. Ain't no way. A creek is a C-R-I-C-K, like you get in your neck. I don't see how you get crick out of creek. I don't know. Somebody tell me. I mean, and I can write in cursive. There's the inside joke for those of y'all that listen. But anyway, they have these bridges and it's just it looks like just a grass ditch. Well, lo and behold, I learned that grass ditch becomes a raging river in the monsoon season, which are we getting ready to go into monsoon season? We are in monsoon season. So I meant to get out yesterday, but I just didn't want to get out. But I meant to get out and look because I've been dying to see some water in them ditches. But the good thing is it knocked the dust down and it got everything. And of course, our allergies have been like wild down here. My buddy told me last night when I was talking to him, he said allergies. He said, what do you got to be allergic to? There ain't nothing that grows down there. I said, there's a lot of stuff grows down here.
He said, what? And I said, dust. Sagebrush. He said, you ain't got no trees. I said, we do. I said, I'm going into fence post business. He said, you're going to do what? I said, I'm going into fence post business. He said, well, where are you going to get fence posts? I said, you don't have to have a regular fence post. All I got to do is go up the road about two hours where they have real trees and just walk around people's yards and pick up sticks that my mama will whoop me with. And that's a fence post down here. They'll nail a piece of bollard to anything. And then you go along, and if you need a good post, you take a chicken wire and make a circle out of it, a cylinder, and fill it full of rocks, and that's what you tie your gate to. Y'all think I'm lying? You wait till I get a picture of it. Amy will put it on YouTube. So, but that's a job. I make a fortune in the fence post business. If I had some fence posts, I'd make a portion. I'm telling you, that fence is just a suggestion. Now, a cow may not go through it, but a bull would, depending on what he was going to see. And a buffalo for sure. I'm going to tell you something. A bison, listen, it don't, you could have the border fence up there and he'd just walk right through it like it wasn't even there. It could have 50,000 watts on it. And he'd just flinch a little, maybe let a poot. No, I'm sorry. That's, and keep on walking like it wasn't even there. Lord, I just said that on TV, I started to say, I said that. I see, you can't say it on radio. That's why I like podcasting. Mercy. So I'm going to bring some stuff to y'all today that we're going to talk about that are interesting things. Now, we put a post up this past week about the most popular products for your black tank on your RV, travel trailer, whatever your van, whatever. Everything's an RV to me. And I've said this often. I don't distinguish between travel trailers and vans and teardrops and pop-ups. I mean, an RV is a recreational vehicle. Yes, I know technically an RV is one you drive. I get that, but it's just easier for me to say RV because it's a recreational vehicle. So we talked and I showed you some of those. One of the products that's not on there is a product that we get on Amazon, and it's my favorite. And so I wanted to mention that besides the homemade recipe that Amy put on there that we use, because that works really, really well. And it's a whole lot less expensive than this other product, but we run this other product in there every once in a while because they've got about 5 or 6 different ones. And if you've purchased an RV and you don't know how the tank's been maintained, and that's something when you go to purchase your RV from an individual, I want to talk to that person about how much they've used it and the things that they've done. And if you start talking about black tanks and treatments and things like that, and they're not tuned into you, then it's not been treated. And it's not, so you need to factor that into the cost of what you're willing to pay for it, because you're going to have some stuff to deal with. Now, Unique has a product that actually those solids in that black tank can be hardened. And they've got a product that you can fill that tank up and put in there for 48 hours minimum. I like to leave it in there for a little bit longer than that, and it will bust that stuff up. And naturally, those enzymes will do that. We used to have a product called Septic Miracle that we used in residential houses. And I don't know if it's still available. It was $100 for a bucket of that stuff. And it was nothing but enzymes and on steroids. I mean, literally, and you could dump that in once a year in your septic tank. And I'm telling you, it would absolutely positively keep everything flowing the way it's supposed to. But you can also do some things like put light bread in there and stuff like that. Now, you don't want to do that in your black tank. Your black tank's a different beast. We want a little bit of solids in there. And I don't care what they tell you. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what they say any way, form, or fashion. I'll argue with them until I die. Don't put no toilet paper in that black tank. I don't care if it says it dissolves, turns into a magic rainbow. I don't care what it does. Don't put it in there. Don't put it in there. Don't put it in there, because I promise you it will clog that tank. Come on, plumber, speak to me. They'll tell you the same thing. Gosh, I've got the coughs this morning. I apologize. Try to hit the cough button. So we're going to talk about that. But Unique, N-U-I-Q-U-E, has a list of products depending on what you want to do. They got a maintenance product. They got a product for dried tanks. They got just a clean out product. They got to clean your sensors tank. You know, they got a lot of things that has to happen. And, you know, if you use that. Now, when we're traveling, you know, now tomorrow we're only traveling
about 3 hours up the road to our new destination, which is in Odessa, Texas. That's right, folks. We're going to the Landman. We're going to be right in the middle of it. Now, when I was coming, and this is what God does. So we was coming down here. We was going through Midland and Odessa, and I told Amy, I said, "My God, that's the ugliest place I've ever seen in my life. There ain't nothing but travel trailers and oil workers and flames shooting out of pipes," which I think they call that a flare. No, not one you pick in your yard and take to mama, but a flare. That's those of y'all back home will get that in East Tennessee. But you know, and I thought, but once you get outside of that into the city, it's gorgeous. The reason, and I'll tell you, that's our next destination, and there's so much to see and do up there. I had no idea. You've got the University of Texas what's this called? Permian Basin. Sorry, took me a second. Welcome to my almost 60. Permian Basin. So you got University of Texas Permian Basin, which is a Division II school. It's really good. That's the Falcons. I'll be watching them play a little football. They play our Sul Ross Lobos that was down here in Alpine, which we dig because a lot of the guys that play on the football team work over at Lowe's, but not Lowe's the building supply. They work at Lowe's the grocery store, which is great. And speaking of grocery stores, I read an article this morning that kind of blew me away. And this article, I forget who wrote it. I try to write that down because if I steal something, I try to give credit to those who do, but I forget how it came to me. I get so many things on email, which I appreciate. A lot of them I don't, but I get so many things on email that I do appreciate that. Walmart is not the cheapest place to buy groceries anymore. I didn't copy this, but I did remember. There are 5 stores that have lower prices than Walmart for groceries. You know that, Mama? One of those stores is a store that we have here. One of them was Aldi's. And if you like Aldi's, I like Aldi's. We just don't have one here. But Aldi's is cheaper than Walmart. One of the stores that we're going to shop at, and we're kind of excited about shop. I like to shop. I'm in touch with my feminine side on that. I got that from Amy's dad, who didn't have no feminine in him at all, but he loved to shop. So me and him go shop. We go down every aisle. If you don't go down every aisle, you'll miss something. Amy shops like a man. In there, dip, 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 out, gone. Let's hit it. What are we going to eat? I like to see everything. You might miss a deal. That might be a dented can of green beans that you can get for half off. I like a bargain. But anyway, H-E-B. $28% cheaper, 24% cheaper than Walmart on groceries. H-E-B is a huge store chain in Texas that's privately owned, and it's a grocery store. So we'll be telling y'all about that and some of the stuff that they have there. One of the things that's great about a small town is it's a small town. One of the things that's not great about it is it's a small town. So where we live is 6,000 people, and where we've been for the last little bit, and it's great. We love it here. It's beautiful, but medical care is not, if you got a cold or, you need some stitches, you can get that done. But if you've got a major something going on, or they think major something going on, that ain't going to happen. We're going to tell you a story about that later on in the program today. Also, we've got a McCoy's, which is a great building supply. I love McCoy's. It's a great building supply. They're all over Texas, and it's old school, and I dig it. And they're good folks to do business with. And then we have a True Value Hardware, and that's what you have. There is no Home Depot. There is no Lowe's building supply. There is no Ace. There is a True Value. But within that, I started looking at prices, and it's more now. Gas is about the same here. I don't know what y'all paying for gas. We're paying $4.17 a gallon, which is driving me crazy because I got to fill up my truck today in 2 cans, and I already filled up Amy's cups. So that's going to be $300 to get us from here to where we're going. But that's okay. Got to do what you got to do. But as far as other things, I was looking at coffee. The coffee that we buy is, for instance, Dunkin'. If you like Dunkin' coffee, it's $16 here. It's 10 in Odessa. And so when you do $2 and $3 and $4 and $5 a lick, that adds up quick. Oh, that's I made it rhyme. I do it all the time. My poet didn't know it. So it's those little things like that. Now, our favorite coffee is from Steampunk Johnny. You thought I wasn't going to say it, John. It is. That's my favorite. But if I don't have that and I just need to pick some up, that's what I do. But really, truly, there are other brands out there that I like too. But just that was just a for instance, cost comparison. Ground turkey, about twice as much. All those things add up. Now, the best beef I've ever ate, I've eaten here, and we got good beef back home in East Tennessee. We really do. But they got the beef here is really good too, and they have different things. They have cuts that, I'm sure we have the same cuts back home, but they call them different things. So you got to learn about that. So we're going to talk about that today. I'm going to talk about a step bumper receiver. I'm going to talk about sink shrooms, bathtub shrooms. We're going to talk about that. Boy, where we're headed with that, Rick. And some other tips and tricks. I'm going to tell you how to figure out what size generator you need if you want to be like us and be comfortable on the road. And then I want to ask y'all a question when we come back from the timeout. We're going to have a little timeout here to talk about some of the people that bring you this program, and we appreciate them. You got it, my brother. SteampunkJohnnyCoffee.net. SteampunkJohnnyCoffee.net. Promise you, he'll ship it to you. It'll be delicious. Good coffee. There's a commercial that drives me out of my mind, and I saw it last night, and I noticed something about it. And maybe it's just the old school guy in me, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Maybe it is just the old school guy in me. But if I was the people that ran this commercial, I'd be livid. First of all, I don't being a Gen X person, I don't understand the commercial. It don't make any sense to me. There's no correlation between it. I'm sure kids do, but whoever they're targeting must understand it, because obviously this is a big thing, and I know they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to have this put together. But there's a flaw in it. To me, is a flaw that we're going to talk about that when we come back. Also going to tell you about some stuff going on in Knoxville we saw this morning I'm pretty proud of, and talk a little bit more about essential oils. That's just the tip of the iceberg. We're talking about wasps today. Life on the road, Yeller Jackets, and mold and mildew. Things you need to know about. It's that time of year. You're listening to Rick's House, and that is Life on the Road with Rick's House. So we appreciate y'all being with us. Hang on, young'uns. We'll be right back.
Located in the heart of East Tennessee, where they do full service plumbing and repairs. All Clear Plumbing. Wheeler and Daniel, they know how to get the things right in your house. From a broken water pipe to an emergency repair to a water line installed, or maybe something that you never thought a plumber could do. Who do you call? You call All Clear Plumbing. Talk to Wills, All Clear Plumbing. Your choice for plumbing. 865-443-7752.
Hey, y'all, this is Rick Allen, host of Rick's House Home Improvement Radio Show on the road. And let me tell you about my friends at Knoxville Salvage and Old City Kitchens. Joel Popper and the team there have been friends of this program for a long time, and they want to be your friend. Friends, they have got the best cabinets, the best products, You say, Rick, is it seconds? No, everything's first quality. They do have some seconds if you want to get a deal, but not on kitchens and not on about everything they have in the store. So trust me, they're part of our team. They want to be part of your team. And in this environment where building materials are going through the roof, they're going to have the best prices on the best products in Knoxville or anywhere in the surrounding area. Call them today. See them online. KnoxvilleSalvage.com, OldCityKitchens.com. A Rick's House favorite.
Hey, y'all, this is Rick Allen, host of Rick's House Home Improvement Radio Show. Let me tell you about our newest sponsor, GFL. That's Green for Life. If you're looking for that dumpster or that roll-off or that piece of equipment that's going to get that debris away from your job site, or just keep things handy around and clean around that big business that you have, GFL wants to be your partner. They want to service you, and they want to take care of you. Locations in Knoxville and Morristown, and you can call them today at 865-475-7777, 865-475-7777. Dean Kings joins me today to tell us about a special offer for Rick's House listeners. Dean.
Yeah, Rick, if they mentioned that they've heard about us on your show or any kind of thing affiliated with your show, we're going to waive our delivery fee for any roll-off box.
And how much is that, brother?
That's a $75 savings.
$75 savings right off the bat. So if you're looking for that dumpster or that open top roll-off, GFL is the company that's got them for you. They want to take care of you. They want to service you, and they do a great job for us. GFL, call them today, 865-475-7777, and mention that you heard them on Rick's House.
Waking up between you and Mama every Saturday morning. Lord, it must be a big old bed. You are listening to Rick's House.
Good Saturday morning to you. Hey, your mama and them. Paul Seymour coming to us live from Union County. Yes, sir. Good to see you, Brother Paul, this morning. Love you too, brother. Hope you're enjoying that camper from Weekend RV Center. Good friends of the program up there in Clinton, Tennessee, for those of y'all listening to us. Go out there and see X and tell him I said he's ugly. And he'll say, you must have talked to Rick Allen. So anyway, that's how we roll. But yeah, appreciate y'all this morning listening to us. So there's a commercial, and we'll jump into the home improvement, but I just want to talk about this. Have y'all seen this? I see it, we stream everything. So, I don't know if this is on regular TV or, what it is. And that's the other thing, where we're headed up to Odessa, Texas tomorrow. We get about 25 channels or so, which we watch. Like this morning, I watched Channel 10 back home in East Tennessee and saw what was going on. I like to keep up with home and what's going on, what everybody's doing, and, know what's happening. I'm going to talk about something else about that a little bit later in the program. But anyway, I like to keep up with that. But when I'm streaming, especially on YouTube, there's a commercial that comes on from Navy Federal Credit Union. And it'll pop up and it'll be like a basketball game. And then it'll be talking about Navy Federal Credit Union, or the one that I saw last night pops up. It's a baseball game between the Yankees and somebody else. I didn't even pay any attention to that. And the screen is split. And it's a Yankees game on one side. And this guy comes in to talk to his son. He says, well, it's time I talk to you. And the kid's like, oh, Lord, Dad. He's like, no. Since I served our country, which I appreciate everyone that serves, all y'all, thank you. So this isn't anything about that. And it says, and the kid thinks he's going to give him the talk a lot, the life talk or sex talk or whatever. And so he says, but since I served, you can be a member of the credit union. And so they're talking about it, and he's like, oh, okay. And then it goes back to the baseball game, and then it shows the pitcher walking off the field into the dugout, and there's a Bank of America logo on the dugout. Now I'm thinking, first of all, I don't see the correlation between the sports and the banking. I mean, I know banking's a big part of that, but I just don't see the correlation there. I'm sorry, I don't see it. And I know there's one, but I don't know what it is. So maybe it's that gets the kids' attention or the young people's attention. I don't know. If you're out there and you're a young person, call and tell the old man, because I don't get that. But second of all, if I paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to have a marketing team tell me how to put a commercial together, and I'm a bank or a credit union, and at the end of the commercial for about 5 or 6 or 7 seconds, the pitcher walks off and there's a great big Bank of America, my competitor, a huge Bank of America sign on the dugout. You think somebody missed something? I'm just saying. So, Navy Federal, y'all call me. I'll do a better job. And we won't have those kind of boo-boos. But, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, what is it just me? Am I being picky? Am I picking? I don't know. Back home in East Tennessee, I saw Emerald Youth Foundation. And for those of y'all listening across the country, this organization does a phenomenal job with the youth back in Knoxville. The organization was started by a fellow teammate of mine from college who is an outstanding person. And he was a senior when I was a freshman, but we became friends, and he hits you so hard and rattle your teeth. But then he puts his hand down, lift you up and say, I'm praying for you. But I'll be back in a minute. Brother Steve Diggs, phenomenal individual, doing so much for youth all over Knoxville in every community, and their new venture that they're doing this morning, $25 million. And Brother John Crooks, who was my first program director when I started radio in Knoxville. I started in Florida, but then when we branched out back home to Knoxville, he was our program director, an outstanding person as well, who's their media manager. So just want to say hey to those guys and just congratulate them on being the real deal. Steve Diggs and John Crooks, the real deal. It's good to see that, and you don't see that much anymore, but those guys do it. They absolutely do it. By the way, the Mexican cheeseburger that on the video is absolutely delicious. I'm telling you, y'all need to check that out and make sure that you utilize that. One of the things that I've got to thinking about is as we haven't moved the RV since December when we came to Alpine, and we're moving to Odessa. And so, we're packing up, and we've got the inside ready to go. Amy's got that down to a science, and, we've got that situated in pretty good shape. But one of the things I've talked about and thought about, and I even have some, and I've used them some, but I haven't used them some, are slide out jacks. Now, the slide outs on your RV are designed to hold a lot of weight. And depending on the system that you have, a lot of RVs have a cable system, which the cable pulls it in and out. And everything that I see about that says no to me. I mean, it really does. Everything I see about that says that's a potential problem down the line. I hear that it's a potential problem down the line. I do. It's one of those things that, it does not make sense to me. It doesn't seem substantial enough because I've loaded my slides down. If you look at my slide where my office is, we've taken the couch out, and I've got file cabinets in there that I use for my radio stuff and business stuff. And then I've got one that I use for the clothes that I don't have to keep on a hanger in the closet in the bedroom, and I utilize that space. So there's quite a bit of weight on there. Our slides are heavy duty. They really are. Not the slide itself. They are now because we rebuilt them. The way they build them is terrible. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. First thing you need to do as soon as you get a new travel trailer or RV is if you've got slides, there's a seam about 6 inches from the bottom. You need to pull that metal off, seal that with some good sealant. You need to put that back on there. You need to make sure that you've got that covered from the top of that seal against the siding on the aluminum or fiberglass or whatever that you have down across that metal seal, down and underneath to the floor of the product that's on the bottom of it. And that is sealed. And you need to check that regularly because that water will wick down the side of that slide, and it will. I promise you, I don't care. It will come in there. They don't seal them. They seal it on top. They don't seal it behind, and that slide will rot out, and that's a $3,000 fix per slide. We've got 3. And I had to do all 3 of them. Now, did I pay $3,000? Absolutely not. I got a good carpenter, and I bought the material, and I did a whole lot of instruction. Had I not had the mobility issues that I had, I would have done it myself for just the cost of material. But not everybody can do that. So that is a huge, huge issue. So, and I've got pictures of that. Matter of fact, I sent them Amy yesterday to put back out on YouTube and all that stuff for those of y'all hadn't seen them, because they put a piece of 5/8 OSB in there, and that's oscillated strand board, and it wicks the water right in the end of it because it's dried, and it's got exterior glue on it. But I promise you, it'll make it the year that it's warranted, but after that, it's gone. So you got to deal with that. You just absolutely positively got to deal with that. It's something that has to be dealt with, and I'm telling you, it's an issue. So a lot of people say that if you put slide jacks, which go underneath the rails of your slide. There's 2 rails that come out that have gears and pinion on it. It's a gear and pinion system on mine. It's made by Lippert. And they say that if you put that out there and it supports that, it can cause the slide to get out of alignment. Well, if you use the slide enough, it's going to get out of alignment some. I mean, that's just natural. And your slide should be marked on your rails where all your positions are, and it looks really, really complicated, and it's best to let the dealer do it if you're not handy. But as I've looked at it, I understand it, and as I've watched tutorials from the factory, I get it. It's not that hard to do if you follow the instructions and do it the way that that they recommend doing it. But if those bolts are good and tight, that RV Tech on YouTube, that THAT RV Tech, I watched a video from him, and that guy knows his business. I don't know him, don't know nothing about him, don't know how he does business, but I know that he knows what he's doing. He was showing, it was a Forest River like ours, and he was showing the rack and pinion slide. Huh? Turn what? Oh, like that. He was showing the rack and pinion slide supports underneath the slide on a Forest River, and it was a smaller trailer than ours, and they were a lot smaller than ours. And he said, in this application, I think a slide supports jacks would be in order. So I'm thinking probably not a bad idea. Now, do you want to crank that thing up and really, no, but if you come up and snug it and then watch them, because if you don't get something good underneath them, depending on whether you're on a concrete pad or you're on gravel or you're on dirt or grass or whatever you're on, you got to have a base under it because it's going to settle. My RV has settled, and the flooring inside has moved just a little bit because it's a floating floor. When we get to Odessa, one of the things that I will do is I'll readjust those. There's 2 or 3 places that I'll tap it back into place once I get the RV leveled. And that's something that's constant. My RV needs, it's close right now, but it's not exact. And it needs, you're constantly having to do that depending on, what you put down. And I'll show you what we're going to put down. I think I've still got them in here on the program today. But that being said, we've got that going on. And so the end result is that
I think that I am going to utilize the slide jacks because our RV sets with the slide outs for such a period of time. You know, the goal for us now is as we move around the country in the places that are good for our health, we're going from high desert, which is a high elevation, and because of some of Amy's breathing issues that she's had, allergies and so forth, and because of my allergies, but mostly my AFib, which is a um, makes you winded. I need to get in a little bit lower elevation, but still stay out of the humidity, and that's why we're headed to Odessa, because that's going to drop us into the high plains. So that'll help me to breathe a little bit better, but it'll also keep me out of the humidity like we have at home, which helps my neuropathy. So, you know, people say, well, we chase weather, we chase sunshine and no rain. Well, I get that, but we don't. We chase weather too, but we chase it for a different reason now. We chase it for health. I love East Tennessee, but I can't live there because I can't get out of the chair. It's just that simple. So, you know, we're doing that. So the goal is this thing's 40 foot 1 inch long, plus the truck, we're 65, almost 70 feet long when we're traveling. So what our friends, and I was talking with another camp, a camp host couple, not another camp host couple, but one of the camp host couple, because we're not camp hosting right now. And they were saying, we were talking about, and they said, well, are you going to come back? And I said, well, our goal is to have this as our base in a place that we can find till we do a house, and then to have a smaller camper cargo trailer that we do into so we can be stealth, something that the car will pull, because we have an Outback, which is an awesome car. If I knew about them, I did know about them, but if I wish I'd had one. That's the only car I'd ever buy. I mean, it's fantastic. It's been a great car, knock on wood. So something that we can pull that's easier for us to, if we want to go, you know, with Rick's house and see this, see that, you know, life on the road, and keep giving you that stuff. That way we can boondock. Because pulling this thing around is with gas 420 and I'm getting 10 miles a gallon, that ain't working. So to do something smaller is, and so a lot of folks our age and a little older than us are going, yeah, we're doing the same thing. We're going to take our 40 footer, our 45 footer, you know, fifth wheel, or 50 foot with fifth wheel, and leave it. And then we'll go back there in the wintertime and put it back out in the lot, and then they can store it for us the rest of the time. And then we'll keep a small something or another that we'll run around in, which makes sense. So, you know, that's kind of the thing about that. But here's what I'm driving to. And here's what I'm thinking about, that I thought about. I haven't even told Amy about this. But she just walked back inside from outside, so she'll hear it now. I've heard everything from not to lubricate the slides to lubricate the slides. And one of the things that I know is that I have the last time when we got here and we run those slides out, I have two of them that are just creaking and squeaking and carrying on. And what brought my attention to this is I have what I'm sitting in right now, which, you know, I had an office chair that I sit in, but that's just uncomfortable. So I want to be comfortable so I can give you all the best in home improvement and life on the road. I want to be able to tell you those things. If we want to run long, we can run long. If we, you know, I want to be able to give you that information and be comfortable doing it. I'm about comfort. That's part of our deal and why we've done it that way for the whole period of time. That being said, so I have this electric recliner. Goes up like that, down like this. Well, I don't need electric recliner. But when I went to Newmarket, Tennessee, before we left on the road this time to the furniture store, and I can't remember the name of it. It begins with an F. Amy, can you look that up for me? You okay? Okay. I told him, I said, you know, I'm a big guy, even though I've lost, you know, almost 200 pounds. and I lose a little bit more every day, every month, and I'm steadily going down, which hopefully will let the skin go down with me. But long story short, I need something that I'm not going to wear out, because it takes a beating. And I know men, I know we do this, ladies. I know you're going to say we flop. We don't ease down the chair. We flop. And that's hard on the chair. So Mike at the furniture store told me, he said, Rick, you need to get an electric recliner. I said, well, I don't need an electric recliner. I said, what is it? Lovin's Furniture, New Market. I said F, it's not an F. It's Lovin's. That was in Sweetwater, the F, one with an F, where we bought something else, but bought Amy's recliner.
This is actually in
Talbot, Tennessee, close to New Market, next door. Lovin's Furniture Store. Go see him. Tell him you heard about him on Rick's House, Life on the Road with Rick's House. But anyway, he said, honestly, you need to go ahead and buy a powered recliner, because a powered recliner is built sturdier because of the power situation and the motor than any other recliner. He said, so even if you didn't use the motor, which I do, I'm glad I did, because it helps my knees, where I got torn meniscus in the left knee from ball. Well, I said it was from ball. I actually tore it getting into the bed. But it sounds better. I tore it playing football. Now I tore it getting into the bed. Mm-hmm. Yeehaw. But anyway, he said, you need to go ahead and get you an electric recliner. He said, because it'll hold up longer for you. And it's true. Now, what I've noticed about that is that this thing is squeaking like Fred G. Sanford's junk truck going down the road. I mean, it's squeaking and creaking and cracking and so forth. And I told Amy, I said, I'm going to have to lubricate those mechanisms in that recliner, because anything that has friction, if it's squeaking, it's rubbing. If it's rubbing, it's causing a problem. It's getting loose. It's wearing something out. It's going to make it tear up early. It's just like using a table saw. Amy's dad would tell him all the time in his shop, guys, put a little car wax on the table. He kept car wax in there. Put a little car wax on the table and wipe it down, because when you're running that great big heavy mantle through that 3-face saw, yeah, it'll cut it. But if that saw's straining because we're having to push that wood so hard that it's in a strain, you're working on the brushes in that motor. Same holds true with anything that you're doing, where it's a slide out on the travel trailer or the recreational vehicle, as I call them, or in this recliner, you've got to have lubrication on it, a door hinge, whatever it may be. But here's the thing, WD-40 is not the cure for this. Now, I love WD-40 and I love PB Blaster. They have their place and they're both awesome products. And WD-40's got about 40 different uses that you can utilize it for. PB Blaster does too. And that's fantastic, but it's not the place to put on your door hinges, because it's going to drip and get all over everything, and stuff sticks to it. It's oil. It's a penetrating oil, and so it sticks to it. Same holds true. My wife would tell me, and anybody's wife would tell them, if I come in here and spray all this down with a bunch of WD-40 and that drips out on the new floor and gets on the rug, Daddy's going to be cleaning. Plus, it has a smell to it. It has VOCs in it. We're going to talk about VOCs today. I'm going to talk to you about that. And I didn't even know I knew a VOC was bad, but I didn't even know what a VOC was until I did a little investigation. That's a volatile organic compound. So chemicals and VOCs in the air, bad for you. We're going to talk about that. So anyway, that being said, I'm going to have to lubricate this thing. Well, I got to thinking, I got to run these slides in tomorrow. And you leave your jacks down and you run your slides in, or you should put your jacks down and run your slides out. That's what you should do. Now that don't always happen. If you're boondocking and you're in a parking lot, nope, they don't want you to run your slides down in their parking lot. They don't want that to happen. So you run, they don't want you putting your jacks down in the parking lot when you run your slides out. So I'll run them out. I've done that many a time. Really, what you ought to do is I mean, that's occasionally, but it's better for alignment and on the slide itself not to put in a strain, especially if you've rebuilt them with 3/4 inch pressure treated plywood like I did, your floors, and added additional weight so it'll stay with you, is to have your jacks down and have everything stable and level and then run them out. Then that way it's going to run out the way it's supposed to. Now, we're fortunate ours are good and they do that. But that being said, I got to thinking about it. And I thought, we've been in the desert since December, and these things were squeaking when I run them out. I know that with 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 mile per hour winds and sand and dust and salt blowing against those underneath mechanisms, that we probably have even more. Those slide rails on the slide outs on the travel trailer have taken a beating. Brandon, good to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us. So we need to lubricate them. Well, Rick, what do you lubricate them with? I mean, you said don't use WD-40. You said don't use PB Blaster. What do you lubricate them with? I'm going to tell you right after this time out, because I'm out of coffee. So hang on, young'uns. I'm going to tell you what to do on your door hinges in your house, and what to do on things that you need to lubricate within inside the house, and things that you need to be concerned about, like the slides outs on your travel trailer. And you won't find that nowhere else, but you'll find it here. Where? Rick's house. Permachink Systems, protecting wood for a long, long time. Not only protecting it, but beautifying it, helping it when it's decayed, working with log home people, and also working with homeowners. They have a store on Prosser Road in Knoxville at 1605 Prosser Road. That's 800-548-3554, or a store in Sevierville, 1357 Dolly Parton Parkway, 865-774-3307. 865-774-3307. Let me tell you what you're going to learn when you get there. Things I didn't know about. How about the Woodsman line of smooth log caulk? The other day I was looking for something that matched wood trim. I only had two choices. Not with Permachink: pine, honey, tan, cedar tone, brown, and gray. E-wood, epoxy wood putty that really works. Putty that will harden and become just like the wood itself, maybe even better. If you're missing sections of your windowsills or frames or furniture or any wood structure, this is the product for you. But maybe it's something smaller. How about epoxy wood paste? Contact PCS today. Call Permachink Systems today. Toll free 800-548-3554, or at the Sevierville store, 865-774-3307, and find out how to make wood better.
Don't let do-it-yourself become do-it-to-yourself. This is Rick's House, the home improvement show.
Hey, y'all, this is Rick Allen, and let me tell you about one of my favorite companies, Top Septic. If you need a new drain field, or maybe you're having a problem with your existing drain field, or maybe the septic tank just needs to be pumped, they are the folks that can handle it for you. They know what they're doing. They're an American-owned company run by a veteran who wants to give you the type of service that you're expecting. Top Septic. Call them today, 865-599-1690. 865-599-1690. Hey, y'all, this is Rick Allen, host of Rick's House Home Improvement Radio Show. Let me tell you about our newest sponsor, GFL. That's Green for Life. If you're looking for that dumpster or that roll-off or that piece of equipment that's going to get that debris away from your job site, or just keep things handy around and clean around that big business that you have, GFL wants to be your partner. They want to service you, and they want to take care of you. Locations in Knoxville and Morristown, and you can call them today at 865-475-7777. 865-475-7777. Dean Kings joins me today to tell us about a special offer for Rick's House listeners. Dean.
Yeah, Rick, if they mentioned that they've heard about us on your show or any kind of thing affiliated with your show, we're going to waive our delivery fee for any roll-off box.
And how much is that?
That's a $75 savings.
$75 savings right off the bat. So if you're looking for that dumpster or that open top roll-off, GFL is the company that's got them for you. They want to take care of you, they want to service you, and they do a great job for us. GFL, call them today, 865-475-7777, and mention that you heard them on Rick's House.
Whether you're living in a brand new home or swimming in a money pit, we've got your home improvement answers. It's Rick's House, the home improvement show.
Hey, y'all, this is Rick Allen, host of Rick's House Home Improvement Radio Show on the road. And let me tell you about my friends at Knoxville Salvage and Old City Kitchens. Joel Popper and the team there have been friends of this program for a long time, and they want to be your friend. Friends, they have got the best cabinets, the best products. You say, Rick, is it seconds? No, everything's first quality. They do have some seconds if you want to get a deal, but not on kitchens and not on about everything they have in the store. So trust me, they're part of our team. They want to be part of your team. And in this environment where building materials are going through the roof, they're going to have the best prices on the best products in Knoxville or anywhere in the surrounding area. Call them today. See them online. KnoxvilleSalvage.com, OldCityKitchens.com. A Rick's House favorite.
Hey, y'all, this is Kix Brooks, and you are listening to Rick's House, everything you need to know about home improvement. Here comes Rick.
Oh, well, it's Rick's House. If you got a question, he'll help you figure it out. 'Cause it's Rick's House.
Whoa, whoa, way down south in the rain and the heat. It sure get hot there, you can cook an egg on the concrete. Walking around on the city streets, they go, whoosh, let the big dog eat.
Good Saturday morning to you. Welcome into Rick's House. Thanks for joining us on the program. Live on the road with Rick's House, coming to you live from Alpine, Texas today. Thanks for being a part of what we do each and every Saturday. Thanks for joining us, Kelly. Good to see you on the program. Another Eagle sister out there. Hope you're having a good day. Thanks for joining and listening in this morning. Now, before the timeout, we were talking about lubricating the slides, lubricating the door hinges in the house, the drawers in the house, anything that's binding, that's not working the way that you want it to. And so, you know, that's one of the things we talk about is what to use. Now, don't use WD-40 and don't use PB Blaster or anything like that, because one of the things that it's going to make a mess. It's a penetrating oil. It's got VOCs in it. It's going to smell. It's going to make a mess. But the other issue is anything that's floating through the air, dust. Let me show them that. It's what my bride does. It's what my bride does since we moved to Texas. Y'all think that ain't delicious? Look at that. Cilantro, onions, diced tomatoes, eggs, potatoes. She might even spit in it. I don't know. My goodness, that looks delicious. It is delicious. I ate a little bit of it earlier. So what do you call that, Amy? Surprise?
No, it's just
Goulash. Breakfast goulash.
Arnie just calls it breakfast.
Yeah, Arnie Tex. We're watching Brother Arnie Tex. I turn around and let y'all see that. If y'all hadn't watched Arnie Tex, an enchilada sauce. If you hadn't watched Arnie Tex on YouTube and you want to learn about Tex-Mex and Mexican cooking and Texas cooking, man, it's deliciousness. Y'all take a look at it and see what you find out. But those penetrating oils like that, like PB Blaster or WD-40, do a great job if you use them outside. But if you're trying to use that inside or on something where it matters, it's going to have VOC. You know, it's got a VOCs in it, which, you know, VOCs we already said were volatile organic compounds. I had to look. I couldn't remember because I didn't know I just knew what they were. I didn't know what they were. Volatile organic compounds. So we have to be careful about that. But
The other thing about that is you say, well, Rick, what do you use? Well, there's a couple different things you can use. A silicone spray. Silicone spray is your friend. Silicone spray is fantastic if you've got for your window balances, your window track, your door hinges, all that kind of stuff. Silicone spray is it's a dry spray. Some people use graphite spray, and graphite's okay, but you get the same issue there. It's really, I don't like it where it's going to make a mess. That's my opinion. So if you're going to do something like on the recliner that's heavier duty, and you need something that's heavier duty, then what we want to look to there is a 3-in-1 dry silicone spray. And you don't have to say dry on it, but that's what it is. A 3-in-1 silicone, or you can also do it. There's a Tractor Supply, Lowe's, Walmart. They all have it. They have a Bee Blaster 11-ounce industrial strength silicone lubricant. That's the same thing I'm talking about. $8.49 a can. 11-ounce can lasts you forever. Tractor Supply has a 3-in-1 RV care in 11 ounces. That's slide out silicone lube, $8.49. And the same at Lowe's, Building Supply, Home Depot, so forth, so on. So sometime today, I've got to run over to Tractor Supply because we have one here, and get a tube of this and lubricate those slides. You wipe them down and just make sure there's not any heavy debris on them, and you just spray them. And then the pinion gear in there, we're going to spray it. And so that'll make it easier. I don't need, with the weight that I've added to the slides when I rebuilt them, and with the stuff I have in them now, because that works for us. If you look directly behind me, you can see that you can see that there's a, you can see the lamp on it. There's a dresser there. Well, there used to be a fold out couch there, or what do they call that one where I forget, there's a word for it, but I can't remember what it is. But anyway, it used to be a couch there. It was sleeper sofa, but it was a built-in RV one, terrible. Now, if you weigh 60 pounds, it's great. But if you're over 60, if you're 61 and a half, it sleeps terrible. But that's RV. It ain't made to be, it's not made to be what we've made ours, unless you spend, $350,000. Do what, huh? Yeah, it's for kids. So we tore all that mess out and put a dresser in there that is used for storage. We put things in there that have extra storage. We tore the bar out and removed that. We tore the dinette out in the kitchen, and that's where we have a shelf in there. We have a washer and a dryer and our air fryer, and all that's in that section. And I added additional outlets. Now, when you add heaters and you add outlets, and I'll get back to lubrication here in a second. When you add those things, you got to figure that stuff. We're going to talk about that, because your RV is gauged to handle what comes with it. So if you go trying to overloading it with any kind of little heater, I don't care how small it is, it can still be 1,500 watts. You can wake up on fire. That's bad. So you got to have extra primary circuits that are added so that you don't get in that problem. And we'll talk about that. So a PTFE spray is what they're called, or dry silicone. Is what you use on those slide out rails. And you can also use that same spray inside on your hinges and those kinds of things. So, and it's inexpensive, less than $10, the same thing holds true to lubricate an electric recliner, by using a silicone based spray or white lithium grease, which is going to hang in there. You can use that too, but we have a waterproof, luxury vinyl floor that goes together, it snaps together, all through the RV that we got from Knox Rail Salvage. And you can't beat Knox Rail Salvage for that type of flooring. I mean, they're fantastic. Joel and Tommy's retired now, but Justin and the whole team over there, what a great job Knox Rail does. They've been with us 20 years. Got great pricing on it, and it's performing fantastically in the RV. I might use some white grease lithium on there because it's a little heavier. and feel okay about it, because if some dropped on the floor, you can wipe it up. But if you've got carpet and rugs and things like that, no, you don't want to do that. You want to go with a silicone spray. You're going to make that happen. Now, talking about, and this is something I learned from Amy, volatile organic compounds, VOCs. They're in paints, they're in, lubricant sprays, they're in all kinds of things. And one of the things Amy brought to my attention, which made me look this up, well, the VOC came from when I looked up the lubricants, which I knew. But one of the other things that I thought about that came up as an article associated with VOCs, and I'd never thought about this, but Amy had already brought it to my attention. She's a witch doctor when it comes to essential oils. Now, friends, if you don't use essential oils, you're missing out. I don't know where she learned about it. Don't know how she learned about it. I don't know if the good Lord Jesus come down and zapped her with it, but essential oils are the stuff. They are fantastic. And I'm just going to tell you, if you're a person of a larger persuasion, she makes me a cream that keeps me baby soft, baby butt soft. And I told her, I said, we need to market that stuff and sell it. Baby butt cream. That's what we call baby butt soft. Because I go to the doctor and I go, well, I bet that we're losing all that weight. I bet that skin just broke out. I said, no. They're like, oh my gosh, your skin's soft as a baby's tail. And I was like, yep. How you do that? I said, my wife's a witch doctor. She's a shaman. Doctor told me, said, really, how do you? I said, I'm telling you, my wife makes me a cream that I put on every day after I shower. And I said, he said, because your skin is flawless. I said, I'm a supermodel, supersized. But all jokes aside, he said, well, I'd like to have the recipe for that. I said, I would too. She won't even give it to me. So if you see baby butt body cream come out on the market, you know who it is. We need to sell that on the website. I'm telling you, it works. I've tried everything. I've tried monkey butt powder. I've tried I've tried it. I've tried all that stuff. None of that works for me. So that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. But when I looked up the VOCs, the next thing that come up was an HVAC hack. I'm like, well, that's interesting. That might be something I can share with the listening audience. So I pulled it up and looked at it. And so what they're saying is you take your pleated filter out of your air. You find a smell that you like, or seasonal smell, or whatever in your essential oils. You turn your HVAC off. You take your filter out when you get ready to change it and put a new one in. And you drop a few drops. Don't soak it. Drop a few drops of essential oil on it. Let it dry, put it back in, and that will go throughout the house and give you the same thing that those plugins and stuff like that do. Now, here's the catch. It will degrade some filters over time. That's just something you got to live with. If that filter gets electrostatic charge in it, it won't smell as heavy as maybe like a plug-in does, or those spray cans that you keep in the bathroom, in the laundry room, But when you're spraying those things in those aerosol cans, and we all do it, you're putting VOCs in the air. That's not good for you. So essential oils. I'm just going to read you. The hack is generally safe, but only use essential oils intended for indoor use and in quantities according to their use guidelines. Although essential oils are generally considered safer for human health than synthetic air fresheners, they still contain volatile organic compounds, VOCs, that can aggravate respiratory problems like asthma and COPD, according to the American Lung Association. So it's better, but there's still those possibilities. So we've shared that with you and told you the truth about it. That is an important part of anything that we can utilize that's natural, that in cleaning, Amy makes her own cleaning solutions most of the time. We use bleach. We use a lot of things that are effective. Now, one of the things was this led me to thinking about, she and I were talking this past week about mold and mildew and the difference between the two. Mildew is a stain that will pop up and it's flat. You'll see that, and it's moisture related. It's a fungus. Mold will grow and become hair-like over a period of time. That's the basic difference of how you say it. Well, everybody says, well, I clean it with bleach. That kills it. Well, does a bleach water solution actually kill mold? It does. But does it eliminate mold? It does not. It cleans what's on the surface with mold and mildew. Okay, so if you're wiping a countertop down, but if that surface is porous, and there's debate about this, this is my opinion. It's my opinion. I'm not arguing with scientists about it because I'm not a scientist. But if that surface is porous, it does not kill the roots. And the only true way to get rid of mold or mildew permanently is to treat it with a microbial spray or have a professional company come in and do that. Now, that's a fact. So does it help? Yes. Bleach kills mold only on hard, non-porous surfaces like tile, glass, or metal, but it is ineffective on porous materials such as drywall, wood, or carpet. On porous surfaces, bleach kills only the surface mold while the roots remain, often leading to rapid regrowth. The EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, does not recommend bleach for routine mold cleanup. Now, for non-porous surfaces, they recommend that you mix 1 cup of bleach with 1 gallon of water and you let it sit for 10 to 20 minutes before you rinse it and dry. And so that's something we don't think about. You spray it and you wipe it off. It doesn't have time to work. You spray it and you wipe it off. It doesn't have time to work. It needs 10 to 20 minutes to do its job. Porous surfaces use substances like white vinegar or professional antimicrobial cleaners that can penetrate and kill the roots rather than just bleaching the surface. Now, Amy and I had this conversation this past week. I bought some white vinegar for some things that I needed to do. She keeps apple cider vinegar all the time. So if you're working on a porous surface and you're dealing with mold or mildew, white vinegar or professional antimicrobial cleaners that will penetrate and kill the roots rather than just bleaching the surface. Again, you got to let it sit, let it work so that it gets that done. And of course, always for safety, wear gloves, eye protection, and ensure that you're in a well-ventilated area. And that's one of the things when I was younger, I didn't pay much attention to that, but I pay attention to it now. I really do. You know, I can't tell you how much asbestos siding, like on the old houses in the 50s that I've dealt with. Well, asbestos don't hurt you until it gets dust. It gets airborne and you get it in your lungs, and then 10 years later, you're dying of cancer. So, yeah, it's when it becomes airborne that it's the biggest problem. And I can't say that it don't hurt you. I'm sure it can, but I'm just saying, it's when it's the biggest potential problem is when it's airborne. And so I always use that protection. And we're finding out now that I wish I had done more of that when I was younger, but back then, you know, everybody smoked. You know, it just wasn't an issue back in those days. Now, that being said, it got down. I know this morning when I looked at the news on Channel 10 back home in Knoxville, Tennessee, it was 52 degrees at 6 because I was up at 5. And at 6 o'clock, at 5 o'clock here, it was 46 degrees. You say, well, Rick, you're in the Southwest in the desert. Yep. It gets cold at night when it gets cold. It gets hot when it gets hot. It's different kind of heat and a different kind. It's dry cold and dry heat. It's a whole different beast. Better for Ricky. But I noticed that. So last night, this is something that every person who lives on the road, whether they're in a van, they're in a travel trailer, a Class A, Class C, pop up, whatever they're in, one of the greatest things that you can do, especially if you're camping and boondocking, is an electric blanket. An electric blanket is your friend. I promise you, it is a friend. Now, you say, well, gosh, don't electric blankets use a lot of electricity? Some of them do. Some of them use a lot of electricity. So if you're camping and you're hooked up to a pedestal at a campground, that's one thing. But if you're boondocking and you're running off your batteries, that's a whole different beast. So if you're doing that, then it's time that we want to think about utilizing a 12-volt electric blanket. And even within those, Bob Wells at Cheap RV Living did a video I watched on this. I mean, I watched it, probably, I guess it's been a week or 2 weeks ago, where it's an old video, but he compared different electric blankets in 12 volt and 120 volt, DC power 12 volt and AC power 120 volt, to see which ones that he would buy, which used the less when you're working off a power station. And for those of y'all don't know what a power station is a unit that you charge like a jump box, but it's made for running 12 volt appliances when you're camping. You can also hook solar into it to recharge it, or you can charge it in the car, or you can also charge it by plugging it into a 120 volt AC unit. And then you can, depending on the size of it, you can run that many watts for that long. And it has a built-in lithium battery in it so that you can utilize that. So if you're going to, if we have to travel very far, we want to be able to, instead of staying in a hotel, we like to travel in a trailer and boondock. So we're in comfort, and then we can do what we got to do. We're not rushed, especially if we have to go a long way. Hence the reason we think about a smaller RV for traveling in that nature and having a base, somewhere in the region. So, that's kind of the thoughts as you get older. But that being said, you got to look at the wattage and the volts to determine how big a power station you need, or the alternative is to run a generator, which we have 2 generators on our travel trailer. That one is really super quiet, but it won't run everything, but it runs almost everything. It'll run the important stuff. And then we run some of the other stuff off our 12 volts. So if we need to charge our phones or charge our laptops or stuff like that, we run that off the 12 volt. We have 12 volt lights we can run all through the house, and the 12 volt will run the fan on the HVAC system. It won't run the compressor, but it will run the fan by itself. So it'll do that and not use that much power. So, but if it's summertime, I promise you, we're going to be running an air conditioner. And I have a generator that's louder, but it runs everything in the RV. It's not a ton louder. It's about 10 decibels louder. So it's louder. But if you're out on BLM land, Bureau of Land Management, it don't matter, because there ain't nobody around you. They don't care. And if a Sasquatch don't like it, then you just tell him tough. Or a Bigfoot. Now, that being said, when you look at your appliances and whatever you're putting in your travel trailer, we don't use a lot of gas, a lot of propane. I like propane, but propane can be expensive if you use a ton of it, especially with your heat. And if we're plugged into a pedestal, that's part of our lease and part of our rent anyway. The power in some places is included, up to a certain amount's included. We utilize infrared heaters, because they not only warm the air, they warm the air, the wall, the floor, the ceiling, all that. And once they get all that warm, they're quite efficient, and we utilize those. But and we can utilize those off if we're boondocking and we need that heat, we can utilize that off the generator. Now, typically, you're not going to try to run when we're boondocking. We're going to pile up in one area. A lot of times, we'll just pile up in the living room and shut the back part of the bedroom and all that off, and just heat that space, so we don't use so much fuel. Because it sucks to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go outside when it's cold and add gas to your generator. You say, well, why don't you put it on propane? Well, propane is when a generator is dual fuel, which means it uses propane and it uses gasoline. It's not as efficient on propane as it is on gasoline. I don't know why that is, but that's the way it is. You don't get the efficiency and the wattage and voltage out of it when it's on propane that you do when it's not on propane. And I don't know why. That's just the way it is. So that being said, that's something that you have to think about as you think about how you're going to manage the comfort level that you have when you're boondocking. And we love to boondock, so we made sure that we can do that. But as technology comes along and prices go down, there's easier ways to do it that are more efficient, that save you money. Yeah, you spend a little money on the front end. We have a solar panel on the RV that trickle charges our batteries all the time to try to keep our batteries up. The next step will be putting about 6 or 8, well, at least 400, but maybe more likely 600 watts of solar power on there, so that not only can we run our 12-volt stuff, we can also run it through an inverter and run our 110 stuff. So I don't have to run the generator as much. Now, the reason you say, Rick, well, why do you have 2 generators? Why didn't you just get another one and put them together so that you parallel them, so that you could run everything off the one or get one bigger? Because they have a smaller gas tank, and the one bigger is a whole lot more money. So it was cheaper to buy a Champion generator, which is a good generator, but is not quite and it's good for computers and all that kind of stuff. And I forget what the word for that is, but it has a tank that's larger on it. So I will run the generator that's quiet, because it has a 2-gallon tank. And then when I get ready to go to bed, I'll go outside and swap over to the other generator if we're somewhere where nobody cares. And that generator it's not quite as efficient, but it has a bigger tank, so it'll run all night. So I don't have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and wake up and go outside. And then by the time you put fuel in it and do all that, you are wide awake. Now, you can add an auxiliary fuel tank to it, but I've always been, that's just something else for somebody to steal your gas. And the gas at $4.20 a gallon, people will steal that from you. So it's just a different, there are different approaches. You've got to pick the one that works for you and make it happen that way. Now, I was talking to you about electric blankets and how that works, and, voltage and all that kind of stuff. So last night I was sitting here watching the stuff I watch on YouTube that gets my mind off of everything that I need to prepare, so I can relax and get prepared to do the show on Saturday. And while I was doing that, I was thinking, I'm gonna look at electric blankets. So I just typed in electric blankets. So they popped up, and they were anywhere from $20 to $50. Walmart, Tractor Supply, Rural King, Northern, Target, whatever. I thought, well, yeah, that's, you like Ollie's or sometimes Knoxville will have them. All your surplus places. Ollie's has a great deal on them usually. We've bought them there. I looked at Ollie's last night. Matter of fact, on appliances and some stuff they got some really good deals going on right now. I need to show Amy that flyer. Some really good deals on rugs and stuff like that. Of course, I always go to Knoxville Salvage first, and if they've got it, that's where I'm going to buy it, because they're going to take care of you, and it's going to be first quality. That's how Knoxville Salvage rolls in Knoxville, Tennessee, and they'll ship it to you too. So that's always an option. But if you're outside of that. But I was looking at that, and then I thought, I'm just going to try something here for giggles. So I typed in 12-volt electric blankets. And like I said, they popped up Walmart, Target, Lowe's, Home, all the places. $20 to $49 roughly. So then I just went up into my search engine and I typed RV in front of 12 volt. So now it says RV 12 volt electric blankets, and researched it, and it came up with them starting at $50 to $200. The only thing I changed was I put RV in front of it. There is no difference. But when you put RV or travel trailer or whatever on it, you just doubled it. Because it brought up some of the suppliers and some of that stuff, and it's specific, and it's made for truckers and so forth and so on. So be careful. Utilize what you can. Make sure that it's the appropriate watts, volts, all those kinds of things. But I just thought it was interesting, Amy, that when I put RV in front of it, the products they showed me were doubled in cost. So you got to be careful about that. Now you say, Rick, I'm thinking about a generator. And I was looking on a forum, and there's a comment made. The person had asked about, it was one of the RV forums that I look at, had asked, they said, I want a 5,000 watt Predator generator. And I've told you my generator story many, many times before. We have a Power Horse generator from Northern. It has been absolutely outstanding. I cannot say enough about it. It quit on us on the way home from our last trip, and we were close enough that we just suffered through and made it home. Excuse me. And didn't do anything about it till we got home. Well, Wilson's generator repair in Jefferson City, Tennessee, Morristown, Tennessee. Buddy of mine told me about him. He repaired it for me cheaper than I could replace it. And I bought a spare. And of course, I had a spare and ended up selling it when I was in California to somebody that needed it. And then on the way home, mine broke down because I never had used the other one. So that's the way it goes. But anyway, he told me, he said, Rick, he said, there's only a few companies that make generators. It's kind of like HVAC units or washers and dryers or whatever you're talking about. There's only a few companies that make them all. They just slap a different name on them. He said, your generator's a Predator. So he has a bunch of generator parts from generators that he's not been able to repair that he could have repaired, but been more expensive than just buying a new one. So he has like a generator graveyard. So I needed a new tank and I needed a couple of things. He was able to pull all those parts off that and repair my generator off a Predator when it's a Power Horse. Same everything. So the only difference is that when I purchased the generator for the Power Horse from Northern, then it came with a 3-year warranty. Whereas when I purchased, if I had purchased the Predator generator, that generator would have had a 90-day warranty as opposed to a 3-year warranty. So, I mean, I said, well, the thing to do is to, I told her, I said, we'll take the 3-year warranty, which of course it failed after the warranty died for the 3rd year, which is what always happens. So that being said, it's one of those things that, what do you do? I mean, do you do the you're buying the same product. Now, the way that you figure out what you need, and this is something, I am not an electrician. Hey, Ruby, good morning. I am not going to, I'm not an electrician, don't want to be an electrician, don't know nothing about electricity, don't know how to do that or not do that or anything. So I depend on those. I got a friend, Chris Keefe in Panama City Beach, Florida, from Keefe Electric, that does a fantastic job with what he does. And he does solar, and he does generators, he does whole house generators, he does all that. And so what I know is that I can call on him when I need that information, because that's his field. It's not my field. There's things that you should or should not do when you're in the building industry, or if you're going to remodel. I don't do plumbing unless it's very minor plumbing. I don't do HVAC because I don't know about it. Those are things that I don't do. You know what I mean? I don't because a loose connection on an electrical outlet can cost you to have a fire and burn your house down. There's a reason why you have to be certified to do LP gas. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why you have to have those certifications. And so when it's those kinds of things, I never recommend that as DIY. I just don't. I don't recommend it that way. It's just, I don't think it's smart to do. I think it's not wise to do. I think it's one of those things that you need to stay away with. So when I was looking at the making the welcome to my 60s. I'm in my late 50s. Can't think of Jack. When I was looking at that, one of the things that I thought about was, how do you know how much to utilize and how much to do when you need your volts or your wattage or your whatever? And so what I did was, and I'm going to see if I can find this, is there's a formula. And everybody says, well, that's just simple math. Well, it's not to me. Hang on, I'll go to my history. Because I meant to recognize this guy and I didn't do it. Anyway, but the formula is it's watts. So if you want to know, like, let's say you got a 1500 watt heater. Well, this guy said, he said, will my 5,000 watt generator run everything that I need if I purchase that? And the guy told him, this guy's name's Brian Davis, oddly enough, which my friend Brian Davis, who does that, he said, will it run everything that I need? And his answer was, well, let's figure it. If you want to run everything and you want to run everything, and that's the other thing, do you want to run everything at the same time? What do you want to do? Do you want to, which you're not going to do that. If you're going to run, if you've got, the guy's question was, I got 2 HVACs. Can I run them both at the same time? Well, the question is, yeah, you can run them both at the same time, and you can probably run your TV and you can probably run your lights, but you can't run your microwave and run both ACs on 5,000 watts. It won't do it. We say, well, how do you know that? Well, the way he knows that is because he did this formula. You take the amps. So if your RV's a 30 amp system, or if your RV's a 50 amp system, times 120 volts is 6,000 running amps. That gives you running watts. So amps, 50 amp service or 30 amp service, time volts, which is 120 volts. You're not running 240, you're running 120, equals 6,000. So technically, to run everything in that RV, you need a 6,000 watt generator. But the 5,000 one will be sufficient if you're only utilizing it for not everything at once. So if you're going to run your microwave, you know, you got to turn that AC off. Now, this is common in a lot of things. It's common with, I can't find it. I think it's that, or no, it's not that RV. I think it's RV Repair. I think it's rvrepair.com. But anyway, so what you do is once you figure that out, for instance, and I don't know why RVs do this, and we've talked about this before. Our fireplace is an infrared fireplace, which we utilize all the time. Well, most of those are 1,500 watts. They're 750 on low or 1,500 watts on high. Well, not in RV. In RV, they're 750 watts on low and they're 1,350 watts on high. So they're designed for that, because if you've got a 30 amp system like we have in our RV, then you've got to run it on low. You can't run it on high. It won't do that. That's part of it. But what they do, because it's 1,350 watts, which is an issue because it's that, they also run the microwave on the same wire in the same circuit they've got the fireplace on. Now, if you're plugged in and running a TV and a bunch of other stuff and the fireplace heat is on, if the fireplace is just running and the heat's not on, you're fine. If it's just running the lights. But if you turn the heat on the RV and the lights are on and the heat, and then you run your microwave, it'll kick the breaker. They shouldn't do that. But even in expensive RVs, they do that. And I don't know why they do that. So if you want to know how many watts it takes, you take your RV service amps, which is either 30 or 50, and you multiply that times the voltage, which is going to be 120, unless you're doing something on 240 volts, but 120. And that gives you, at 50, that gives you 6,000 running watts. So to run everything in there, you'd need a generator. That's 6,000 running watts if you want to run everything at the same time, which we're not doing that. Now, gosh, I don't know where time goes. We have a refrigerator in our travel trailer that runs off of 12 volt or it runs off 120 volt. Now, if you're in an older travel trailer, that runs off of 120 volt or propane. Well, you should shut your propane off when you're traveling, which means your refrigerator's not running. And they're good for, you know, a couple, 3 days, at least one day. Freezers are good for 72 hours if they're shut off and you don't open them. Well, ours runs off 12 volt, which means that when we're traveling, our refrigerator's running, which is really nice. So we shut our propane down because we use it for our stovetop sometimes, but not all the time, because propane, the only thing we really use our propane for is our on-demand hot water heater, which works great. You know, that's part of it. It works fantastic. So we utilize that. It has a latch on it. It has a latch that you have to push to open for the freezer. It has a latch that keeps the door closed when you're going down the road. Well, we come in here what was it been, Amy, a month ago or so? Maybe 2 months ago, and the door was open on the refrigerator. I'm like, well, what is that? Well, I got to looking at it, and the little pin that clicks it and that holds it closed was broken. And it's just a plastic thing that had broken. And I thought, well, heck, you know, that's something we need to deal with. So I started looking for them, and they're ridiculously expensive. So I just hadn't done anything about it. And when we move it today, we'll put a bungee on it and keep it closed. But it's really something I'd like to do because, you know, nobody wants to leave their refrigerator door open and it run like crazy like that. So I was reading, and there again, I saw one of my RV repair sites that I look at, a listener, not a listener, but a person who watches that site had put on there that if you go into your Walmart or Target or wherever you shop and you go back into the baby section, they have all that safety first stuff back there, like the plugs that go in your outlets to keep a kid, from sticking a key in there. They have refrigerator locks from Safety First. And they got one, and because they had a residential refrigerator that someone had put into their RV because the other one had give up the ghost, and they put that on there and says it works good now. So if you've changed out your RV fridge, because they're like $1,800 for the one we have, and if you've changed that out and you put that in there, you can go to Walmart, Target, or wherever and find these Safety First gadgets that lock that door and keep it in place. That's something I need to look at because I didn't look and see how they work, but they say they work great for a residential fridge. So good stuff on the program. Now, our dogs and cats, which our little buddy's gone. We don't have our dog anymore, little Chevy. He would have been 12 or 13, Mama. He would have been 13. And he had a good supper and laid down beside us, and we were watching TV, and Amy got up to go to the bathroom, and he was gone. He just passed in his sleep. So we've elected for now not to get another dog because they're dogs are maintenance, and we love our dogs, and where we're going, they have a bunch of dogs that they have that are strays that they've taken in and a rescue. So that's the best kind to have because you can play with them and send them home, send them a bag of dog food every once in a while. so that you don't have to feed them and do all that. Now, that being said, between him and the cats, they've tore our screen door all to pieces. And last night we opened up the screen door on the travel trailer, and it was nice. I mean, it was really nice. And it was nice to have that breeze, but we got flies in the house. So I'm going to rescreen it, but I'm still concerned about the cats because the cats will tear that screen all to pieces. So I saw a hack. One of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to put plexiglass or Lexan into the screen door and make it a storm door because we like to look outside and get that light in when it's not too hot. And but I started pricing plexiglass here. Now, it may be different when I get in a bigger city, but I started pricing plexiglass, and man, that's hard. I mean, that's expensive. Plexiglass is expensive. It's easy to work with, but it's expensive. So what I did is I started Googling how to make your screen door storm door. And a person on one of the sites again had said this, and I thought it was fabulous. They took a clear desktop protector. They're like a tablecloth. And you can buy them. They're like 20 something bucks, and you can buy them, and they're like 29 inches by 65 inches. And they took that and rescreened their screen door. And then once they rescreened their screen door, they took this desktop protector and cut it to fit and put it on the inside with Velcro where they can remove it and have the screen in the fall. But it puts up a clear, like plexiglass, because it's like an 1/8 inch thick. It's thicker than like plastic. And they can utilize it like a storm door. And I just thought that was a fantastic idea. And we're going to try that because getting that light in here and it is nice, especially in the morning time. But I don't know about y'all, but I hate a fly. I know what a fly's been walking on and what it's been doing, and I just don't care nothing about it. Now, I want to finish up today with, as we get to the top of the hour here, with a story about my bride. And we had a scare that is the reason that our doctors said we have to be closer to better medical care. One of the things about living out like we do is great. I mean, it's great to live out like that. But we have a small hospital here, and it's good, and it's only like a quarter of a mile from our location. But they can only do certain things, and it's not like having UT, the University of Tennessee, or UT, the University of Texas, or any of those kinds of things near you. if you're having a heart attack, they can stabilize you, but you've got to get on a plane or a helicopter and be flown. Well, Amy had a situation that they thought was serious. Am I saying that right? And they put her on a plane and flew her to Midland, to Odessa.
It took 50 minutes in the plane.
And it took 50 minutes in the plane. And she said that it was two pilots in the front seat in chairs and a nurse in a chair, a male nurse, and they put her in there because they wouldn't know. I couldn't get it. They wouldn't have got me in there. It was just one pilot.
It was a paramedic and a nurse.
And a paramedic and a nurse. And there was a storm, so the wings was icing. They went up, they went down, they went up, they went down, they went up, went down, and you know, it still took 50 minutes. And they got there when the pilot got on the ground, he went, whew.
Never again.
Mama said never again. That ain't gonna happen, Captain. So we're gonna have to stay. We may go out mobile for a weekend. But we're going to have to be closer to medical attention with the things that we have. And that's just one of the things that you have to consider. Hence our couple that we were talking to, that's a camp host here. They've got the same thing going on, and they've got to be closer to that as well. So something to consider. Don't mean that you can't do it. But with my stuff and her stuff, we're going to be a little closer to where, and we found a fantastic hospital there in Odessa, and man, they're awesome. And the cafeteria is fabulous. Oh my gosh. They had some mammals down there that were they feed me. I said, I got to get out of here. I know I can just eat at 6-8 ounces at a time, but y'all going to make me gain all my weight back because I'm eating every 30 minutes. By the time my breakfast came, by the time lunch got there, I hadn't even finished breakfast at a moment.
They fed you the whole time.
Yeah, they fed.
It's a guest tray.
It's a guest tray. They fed me the whole time because I was there with her.
Yeah, it was part of our stay.
Part of our stay there, or her stay. So, you know, now look for, I can't do everything we got to do today because I got stuff I've got to do, but I've got more stuff coming for you next week. We'll talk about those step bumper receivers. I'm going to tell you what that's about, and sink shrooms and shower shrooms and bathtub shrooms and all kinds of stuff. But I hope you learned something today. I did. And thank you so much. Pay attention during the week. We've got videos coming and more places and more things for you to see. Remember, we love you. We appreciate you. If they'll let you, love them. If they won't let you, love them anyway. Guys, you know what? The older I get, the more important that is. And so thank somebody that serves, and thank y'all for listening and letting us do what we do and what I do each and every Saturday. God bless you. We'll see you next week right here on Life on the Road with Rick's House. Thank y'all.